Right, so welcome back to the People's Mirror. Now, as we said in a few episodes ago, politics is now being discussed in the grassroots level. Nairobi, that has been the heat of politics for the past few months throughout the year, is now a little bit quite silent. And now politics has been taken to the grassroots level, where political kingpins are now downplaying their opponents and advancing their particular ideas ahead of 2027 in their respective backyards. This because we are just a few days to the Christmas day. Today, when we're doing this episode, it's on the 20th of December. And so 5 days from now and moving into the new year, people will be on the festive mood. And most politicians who made Nairobi the center play station for politics now have gone back to their different home areas. In this particular episode, we are doing a county outlook, what is going on in the counties. And of course, a lot is going on in the counties. There's a lot going on in Kirinyaga County, a lot going on in Bungoma County and in Meru County. And we will try to detail, at least in this particular episode, one full story on one county or two, including Bungoma County, Trans Nzoia County, Meru County, Kirinyaga County, and other counties where now politics is very active on the political leaders' backyard. Now, other than that, if it's your first time at the People's Mirror, then please just hit the subscribe button. That way, it helps us grow the channel, but also we detail for you what happens in the Kenyan political scene as it unfolds. Now, in this episode, let's start with Bungoma County. Bungoma County and Trans Nzoia County being in the western part, because looking at the dashboard, the last story that we detailed was of course in the central part, where now Waiguru is facing Kindiki with the numbers in the 2027 negotiation table under the UDA party arrangement. So let's go a little bit to the western part and take a look at what is going on in Bungoma and in Trans Nzoia counties. So starting with Bungoma County, yesterday of course was an occasion. It was an event where the elder brother of Wetangula, James Wetangula, was actually being buried. And when he was being buried, the brother of Wetangula called James, when he was being buried, there was attendance of leaders from this particular area, including Honorable Didmas Baraza, who is eyeing the seat of the gubernatorial position of Bungoma County in 2027. Now, Tim Wanyonyi, who is the brother, of course, of Wetangula, was also attending this particular event because James is also a brother to Tim Wanyonyi. And so there were political statements that were made by Didmas Baraza in this particular event that was at the homestead of Tim Wanyonyi in the backyard of Wetangula in Bungoma, that is fit to first put before the mirror. Then later on, we'll also take a look at the statements that were made by Natembeya shortly before Nakhumicha, the former cabinet secretary for health in the first cabinet of Honorable President Ruto, also declared her bid yesterday for the Trans Nzoia gubernatorial seat, now saying that form ni mama, and actually taking on Natembeya in some contest that Nakhumicha's team believe can make Natembeya be a one-term governor in the Trans Nzoia part. So we have all that packaged for you in this particular episode. Stay with us as we start from the beginning. Didmas Baraza's fight with Tim Wanyonyi is one of the biggest county fights that is being looked at ahead of the 2027 major polls. The reason for this is because of the close friendship that Didmas Baraza has with the Speaker of the National Assembly, who controls or has been controlling in the previous elections the voter pattern of the Bungoma County. Now, Didmas Baraza, who would have easily won this particular seat without a sweat, is now in the spot because of Tim Wanyonyi, who is the brother of Wetangula, but is also seeking to become the governor of that particular area in 2027 under the ODM ticket so far. Now, for Didmas, he's going under the UDA ticket. So this particular fight will not only put the family to a duel, but will also put the broad-based arrangement to a duel in Bungoma, where they will have to decide whether it will be a UDA party under Didmas Baraza or it will be Tim Wanyonyi's party. They've also been said that there is a room for conversation between now and then. And we are hoping on those conversations, but so far they have not happened. So yesterday, Baraza, who is currently the member of parliament for Kimilili constituency and is seeking to go for this particular gubernatorial seat in 2027 and is a very close ally of Honorable Wetangula, attended this particular burial in Bungoma and made certain statements. And he said that they actually owe it to the people of Bungoma as elected leaders, whether you are elected as a member of parliament for a constituency in Bungoma, or you are a governor, or you are a senator, or you are serving in any elective post in the national government, but you come from Bungoma, to actually deliver development for the Bungoma people. While making this statement, Honorable Didmus Baraza now asked the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Wetangula, that they should actually convene a particular day and have a conversation with the residents of Bungoma to actually confirm whether or not within the 3 years that they have been serving the people of Bungoma, they have actually ticked the boxes of the promises that they made for this particular group of people when it comes to development. Now, Baraza believes that if this could be done, then it would ease the actual tension that leaders often have to make a trace point on whether or not they have delivered for their people. Because then with this particular Baraza being in place, they expect the people to give them an honest scorecard on what they have done for the people of Bungoma. So he says that the way the people will follow them, because this will now set a clear guidance for the people moving forward. Of course, you understand that this was also a very bereaving mood, and the platform was not a platform for political statements as such, but then so he restricted himself on the statements that he made, and after that he made room for other speakers to actually make statements in that particular gathering. Let's take a look at the man on the spot right now, Honorable Natembeya. Before we make a comprehensive analysis on the statements that he made, before we put them before the mirror, it is very, very important that he is a person of key interest when it comes to three factions of political alignments ahead of 2027. For the United Opposition, Natembeya's position in the United Opposition table is based on whether or not his Tawe movement and his own personality and his influence as the governor of Trans Nzoia County can deliver a very serious amount of votes to the table of the United Opposition in 2027. If this then happens, then Natembeya might even surpass Eugene Wamalwa in the negotiation table of 2027 of the United Opposition, even if Eugene Wamalwa might still retain the position of the DAP Kenya party leader. And so this particular table negotiation of 2027 within the United Opposition spectrum puts Natembeya at that particular key spot of interest for the United Opposition, with a lot of eyes on him and a lot of pressure behind his back to actually deliver this backyard. He believed with the Malava by-elections and of course the Chwele Kabuchai by-elections that moving into the 2027 negotiation table, he might have delivered or set up a ground that would have given him a voice within the camp. But as it turned out, with the result of those particular polling stations or areas where the by-elections are being held, being a constituency and a ward, he now has to do a lot with his own personality and influence between now and 2027 to actually rally that for the United Opposition. So the United Opposition aside, let's take a look at the Kenya Moja movement that now others have hinted could actually put him with Matiang'i as a ticket, emerging as a central ticket between both the United Opposition and President Ruto. Now this is a possibility, but it is not happening as we record this episode, and so if it happens, then well and good. He will still also have to deliver very strongly on his backyard to rally with Matiang'i in that particular ticket, but that is also very unlikely because they will also be coming from the western part of the nation, fronting themselves as both the president and the vice president to the exclusion of the rest of the country, and that is a ticket that might not really work when it comes to its success. But that aside, the side of the government is also looking at Natembeya as a very key person of interest. Reason being, Natembeya's influence or lack of it controls the vote that Wetangula can actually deliver for the government as it stands right now. And so Wetangula's influence over this area is only being interfered with by the rise of Natembeya. And that is why from the government camp, it's either you discredit Natembeya fully or you rise the population influence of Wetangula over its people. And that is why whether or not Natembeya is in the united opposition or is making personal statements, both eyes are looking at him from the government side and from the united opposition side. So yesterday he made certain statements in his backyard, and these statements were later met by the statements of his opponents. So we want to just take a brief look at the statements that were made by Governor Natembeya yesterday, putting them before the mirror. Now, first thing, he admits that President William Ruto is actually a strong character politically, and that was a very honest admission. He said that President William Ruto is someone with a very strong character. And the effect of this is that it's so domineering and dominating over his cabinet to the extent that, according to Governor Natembeya, when President William Ruto presents anything before the cabinet, then the cabinet, no one in the cabinet can actually raise their voice to question that tabling. And he says as a result of that, when President Ruto tabled a national infrastructure fund budget of 5 trillion, then no one in the cabinet was actually able to raise their voice against that, and it was accepted without a word. So I love how Natembeya explains to Luhya people that 5 trillion is actually so much money, and he goes on to says that serikali kuna mkono refu. He is actually having these particular conversations and criticizing the government while knowing that the government's outreach is actually so deep, saying that serikali iko na mikono refu to the extent that the government can be working with your wife and you actually do not know that the government is doing so. So he says that it is not, however, wrong to criticize the government, because then it is when you criticize the government that service delivery gets better. He says the government that is failing in service delivery, including health, education, and other delivery of other key services, then should be criticized. So he calls for a basket collective vote in 2027 from the Luhya people, and his criteria is simple. He tells the Luhya person that if you're satisfied with the kind of life you're living right now, then vote for President William Ruto in 2027. But if somehow you feel dissatisfied with the life that you're living right now, then vote for the united opposition in 2027. So that is his criteria, and he has now told the electorates in Kakamega the importance of the vote, saying that that vote is really important in determining the future and the life that the Luhya person will live post 2027 after they make that particular vote. He tells the voters to be bold in 2027 beyond just the population that he was talking to. He tells the Kenyan voter to be bold beyond 2027 and vote, and that their votes will be defended and nothing will be stolen off their votes if they boldly show up to vote. So now he says that the current state of the nation is a retrogressive one, even if the president and the government is celebrating the constructions of key infrastructure in the country. Natembeya and his cohort believes that since Linda Mama is not working anymore, and he says while chiefs are saying that she is working, him who is a governor who deals directly with health administration and a county is now testifying publicly that SHA does not work. So he says that the state of the country as it stands is retrogressive, but is being picked from that point of health by the former CS for Health, Nakhumicha, who now feels that Natembeya should be one term in Trans Nzoia. Nakhumicha says that the latest report shows that Governor Natembeya has not done anything development-wise for the people of Trans Nzoia County. She, however, maintains that she's a very honest person and gives credit where it's due, and for that she says that the administrative buildings for the county has improved under Governor Natembeya's leadership, showing an improvement. But he says that the building structures of the county only suits the governor and his administration and does not translate directly to the lives of the Trans Nzoian members in the Trans Nzoia people. So he says that the Trans Nzoia people does not, or the Trans Nzoia person does not directly feel the effect of this administration as a result of the failure of Governor Natembeya. Now, the reason why Nakhumicha was making these statements and where she was making them is important. She was making them at the burial site of the brother of Wetangula, and she's saying that they crossed borders from Trans Nzoia to Bungoma to actually condole with the Speaker of the National Assembly, saying that there is only one kingpin for the Luhya nation, and that is Wetangula. And so Nakhumicha says that she's aware that a lot of people might have political interests, but their interests need to queue behind the person that is Wetangula, saying that there is no other kingpin and there couldn't be any other more kingpins in one region if Wetangula is still there. So this is playing into Wetangula's playbook of the area of still trying to regain influence as the kingpin of the Luhya nation to deliver this particular part of the votes to the UDA party amidst the rising of the united opposition influence, including the unity of Bunika Luale, Cleophas Malala and Natembeya, to deliver this particular part of the country now to the united opposition in 2027. Now, Nakhumicha also declared that she's actually going for this particular seat in 2027. She's going for the gubernatorial seat of Trans Nzoia, saying that Sahi Sasa form ni mama, and she's saying that there is nothing that has happened in this particular area that might stop her from going for that seat. Now, you remember she was a former CS for health, and now she says that she's working with President William Ruto because she believes that the policies of the government is working. Now, the interpretation of this is, of course, back to what we were witnessing in Mount Kenya when we did for you our previous episode, where we were saying that in Mount Kenya, the approach is that it will be so divided that by the time that they're getting into elections in 2027, what will be remaining of Mount Kenya will be just but a political skeleton, and this will be of Western. Every other person that has a voice and influence in Western that resists the current regime is going to find it very, very difficult, in the sense that there will be implanted individuals in their own backyards whose influence have also been felt in the national scene, and whose main aim will be one and very simple: to degenerate the opponent's influence. And for Natembeya, who the Luhya people who are not supporting the government have been looking up to as a rising kingpin that the Luhya nation can rally behind and can even negotiate power in the national scene, or can project himself as the presidential candidate one day, is now going to face it very hard in his own backyard in Trans Nzoia against government resources in 2027 to even deliver a second term as a governor. And this is a move that is aimed at just weakening Natembeya's influence from the ground and actually heightening the influence of Wetangula and other individuals who have been controlling the Luhya politics into 2027. So we keep our interest also locked in this particular area to see what will come first out of Bungoma between the fight of Wetangula's friend Didmus Baraza and Wetangula's brother Tim Wanyonyi. But we'll also be taking a look at what will be happening in the county of Trans Nzoia between the former Cabinet Secretary for Health, Honorable Nakhumicha, and the current governor of the county, Honorable George Natembeya, who will be seeking a second term, or otherwise, according to the arrangement that will exist within the united opposition. Of course, there's also a likelihood that moving into 2027, Honorable Natembeya might not be going for a second term as a governor of Trans Nzoia, depending on the arrangement and the negotiation that they arrive at as the united opposition ahead of these 2027 major arrangements. ODM, on the other hand, have now set rules of getting into this arrangement into 2027 after Pinymar Luo Festival, where now they are saying that they have to strengthen themselves as a party if they are to have a strong voice, of course, in the arrangement in 2027, where they still hope to work with President Ruto. And Opiyo Wandayi on the other side has said now ODM as a party has strengthened itself, and it's upon the other party, being the UDA party, to also strengthen themselves, so that when they portray an image in 2027, it becomes a winning image. This is very interesting that Wanga now declares that part of the arrangement that they got into the UDA party involved the fact that there is no single encroachment in the other party's stronghold or backyard. And so they are trying to look at this as if Ruto could use any other means to enter Nyanza without the ODM party, then it would be breaking the arrangement in the 10-point agenda. And if Wanga and the likes would also go to Rift Valley without invoking President William Ruto's blessings, then it seems, according to this particular arrangement, it will be upsetting the rules of the arrangement. So ladies and gentlemen, maybe later on in our episode we will take a look at what is coming out of Meru County, where Peter Munya now has also made speeches. Very interestingly, Peter Munya made some quick speeches. Let's just take an overview look at it, saying that this particular government came on a bottom-up slogan, but the proponents right now are trying to compete with the dynasties on who owns what. And now Munya says that we cannot get to Singapore on a wheelbarrow, on a wheelbarrow's speed. He also says that hatuendi Singapore na uporaji. Peter Munya resurfaces from oblivion and now says that we cannot get to Singapore based on the way that the current government is working and also based on the speed of the wheelbarrow, faulting Kenyans actually seriously for being the proponents of corruption, saying that they put more focus, or we do as voters, on the 200 and 500 bob that politicians give beyond the work that the politician is charged with to do later on. Peter Munya, who is still now within the Party of National Unity that took Kibaki to power in the 2007-2008 elections, maintains that the current state of the nation is based on handouts of stolen money for the citizens who believe that over the leadership principles, and chooses a leader that is a murderer, and after that still complains if the very citizen is murdered. Now this is a very interesting resurfacing of Peter Munya, who has not been in the Kenyan political scene for quite some time, and we hope to keep a look at him and the PNU party if there is an introduction into the Kenyan political scene ahead of 2027 or just a momentary resurfacing. It's been very interesting recapping this for you here at the People's Mirror. Until our next episode.